Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that your paycheck is not the limit of your wealth, but only the beginning. That behind every coin, every note, every number on a screen lies an ocean of abundance waiting to pour into your life the moment you dare to claim it. Would you still measure your future by income, or would you open your mind to unlimited wealth? Beloved friends, today I invite you to lift your vision higher than the figures written on your paycheck, higher than the digits that blink across a bank screen, higher than the limitations you may have believed to be fixed. For your income is not your supply. It is only one channel through which supply flows. True wealth does not come from labor alone, but from the invisible currents of abundance that surround you, currents waiting for your recognition, your faith, and your spoken word. Money is a symbol, wealth is a vibration, income is a doorway, but beyond it stands a mansion of infinite rooms, each filled with treasures prepared for you since the beginning of time. You may say, I cannot see them. Yet the unseen is more real than the seen. The seed buried in the soil cannot be seen, but within it lies the forest. So it is with your wealth. It awaits your command, your declaration, your unwavering knowing. The world often trains us to count pennies, to measure worth by wages, to chain dreams to a monthly income. But when you rise in consciousness, when you speak words of abundance with certainty, you release the flow that multiplies beyond calculation. You cease to live by effort alone and begin to live by divine order, where every idea is a coin, every opportunity a golden door, and every act of faith a key that unlocks new supply. You do not need to chase wealth. You magnetize it. Like a river drawn to the sea, riches are drawn to the soul that stands firm in truth. I live in abundance. I am one with infinite supply. My income is a seed, and I command it to multiply without limit. If you believe money comes only through toil, you limit its ways of appearing. But when you declare that your wealth is unlimited, channels you never imagined open. A chance meeting becomes a partnership. A single idea births an empire. A door once closed swings wide with favor. This is not accident, it is law. The law that answers faith with fulfillment, the law that mirrors your inner word in outer form. So I say unto you, do not look to the smallness of income, but to the greatness of source. Bless every cent that arrives, for it is a seed of plenty. Refuse to speak of lack, for words are seeds also, and what you sow, you must reap. Speak only of wealth, declare only increase, and the universe must respond. Transformation begins not in the purse, but in the mind. When you rise each morning, affirm with joy, today, I walk in abundance. Today, money flows to me in perfect ways. Today, my wealth is multiplied beyond measure, and as you speak it, so it becomes. Friends, you are heirs to unlimited wealth. Do not shrink your life to fit your income. Expand your faith to fit your destiny. For income is but a beginning, wealth is without end. Step into that truth, live in that vibration, and you will watch the ordinary transform into the extraordinary. Your income is not your true supply. It is merely one of the channels through which supply flows into your life. Too often people chain themselves to numbers on a slip of paper or digits in a bank account, believing those are the limits of what they can have, do, or be. They treat income as though it is the source itself, forgetting that behind every figure lies an infinite storehouse of abundance. Income is a stream, but the source is the ocean, and when you mistake the stream for the ocean, you live in unnecessary limitation. When you recognize the source, you understand that streams may change, new rivers may appear, and unexpected rains may fall. But the ocean never dries up. When a person identifies too closely with income, they shrink their imagination to fit within the narrow walls of what is horned. They delay dreams because the paycheck is not yet big enough. They silence creativity because the job description does not allow it, and they settle for less because the numbers dictate the horizon. But the truth is far greater than numbers. Supply is not bound by wages, salaries, or contracts. Supply is boundless, invisible energy that rushes toward those who are ready to receive it without fear, without doubt, without attachment to one particular channel. Look at nature for confirmation. A tree does not ask if there is enough rain in one particular cloud to survive. It trusts that rain will come, whether from this cloud or that, and it stretches upward to receive. A flower does not panic when the sun moves across the sky, because it knows the light will return again and again. In the same way, when you trust that supply comes from an infinite source, you cease worrying about one channel closing or another drying up. You begin to live in the freedom of knowing that life is full of channels, full of opportunities, and full of new beginnings. Income is an effect, not a cause. Your true cause lies in thought, faith, and alignment with abundance. When you cling too tightly to income as your supply, you close the door to the miraculous ways in which wealth can arrive. But when you release that grip, you open yourself to unexpected promotions, new ventures, gifts, divine ideas, and opportunities you never considered possible. You stop limiting the universe to your paycheck, and instead, you invite the universe to surprise you with its generosity. The key is to view income as a seed, not the harvest. A seed contains the potential of multiplication, but only when placed in fertile soil. The soil is your consciousness, your belief, your spoken word. If you treat the seed as the end, it remains small. But if you bless it, plant it in gratitude, and water it with faith, it becomes the doorway to unlimited increase. When you shift your perspective from, "This is all I have," to "This is one way my supply flows," you transform the relationship between income and wealth, and you align yourself with the truth that your source is infinite. Money is nothing more than a symbol, a token of exchange that humanity has agreed upon, yet wealth itself is a vibration, a living frequency that moves far beyond coins, notes, or digital balances. Symbols are always subject to change, but vibration is eternal. You may see money as paper in your hand, numbers on a screen, or contracts signed, but the essence that animates all these forms is unseen energy. This energy is the true wealth, the substance that brings form to ideas, that carries opportunities toward you, and that shapes the circumstances of your life. When you understand this, you stop chasing money as though it were the prize, and instead you align yourself with the vibration of wealth, which is the real prize. A person who only sees money as wealth will always be in a cycle of grasping, clinging, and fearing loss, because symbols are fragile. Money can vanish through unexpected expenses, economic shifts, or changes in employment. But the vibration of wealth is indestructible because it does not belong to circumstances, it belongs to consciousness. If you cultivate the vibration of abundance, then money in its many forms must flow to you. For matter always arranges itself to match the vibration you hold. It is like tuning a radio. When you dial into a certain frequency, you hear the music already playing. The vibration of wealth is always playing, and when you attune your mind and heart to it, you begin to hear, see, and feel opportunities that were invisible before. To live in the vibration of wealth means you carry a deep inner knowing that supply is ever present. It means that even before the evidence shows itself, you affirm that you are connected to infinite abundance. It is not about the size of your wallet, but about the size of your belief. Some people may carry millions and yet live in fear of losing it, proving that they have money but not wealth. Others may have little in hand, but carry a consciousness of plenty, which inevitably expands into visible prosperity because life reflects the vibration they hold. When you begin to align with wealth as a vibration, your relationship with money changes. You no longer see it as scarce. You no longer fear its coming or going. You bless it when it arrives. You release it joyfully when it goes, because you know that the vibration which produced it is eternal. The flow is constant, and money is only one of its forms. At times the vibration of wealth may bring you money, at other times it may bring you ideas, connections, or solutions worth far more than currency. The forms may shift endlessly, but the vibration remains the same, always abundant, always overflowing, always ready to manifest in ways suited to your life's path. To dwell in this vibration requires awareness of thought and word. Thoughts of lack lower the frequency, while thoughts of gratitude lift it higher. Words of fear tighten the channel, while words of faith expand it. Every moment you are tuning yourself by choosing to think and speak abundance. You keep yourself in harmony with the vibration of wealth, and harmony must always draw its likeness into form. When you measure your worth or your future only by wages, you confine yourself to a narrow box that was never meant to contain your destiny. A paycheck is temporary, a number assigned to a moment in time, not a reflection of your true potential or the wealth that awaits you. To live by wages alone is to shrink your imagination, to fold your dreams into the size of what seems possible under current circumstances. Many people postpone their desires, telling themselves they will pursue them once their income grows. But in doing so they make the mistake of treating income as the source rather than a seed. Wages are not the ceiling of your life. They are the floor from which you may rise higher. When you see income as your limit, you unconsciously train yourself to dream small, to accept less, and to live under the weight of calculation instead of inspiration. The belief that you are bound to a fixed salary robs you of vision, because vision requires freedom to expand beyond what is already in hand. Great ideas, divine opportunities, and bold ventures rarely emerge from minds that are trapped in fear of how far a paycheck can stretch. Instead, they flow to those who refuse to be defined by numbers and who live in expectation of increase beyond predictable channels. Income is only one avenue of supply, not the entirety of it. When you free yourself from the belief that your worth is tied to a paycheck, you open to the countless ways wealth can find you. Opportunities may arrive as gifts, unexpected doors, inspired ideas, or connections that transform your path. A single inspired thought can produce wealth far beyond what decades of wages could ever provide. Yet such thoughts come only to the person who has risen above the smallness of counting coins. When you allow yourself to believe that abundance is without limit, you invite life to respond in ways that exceed your calculation. Think of income as a signal rather than a boundary. It signals that you are in a flow of giving and receiving, but it does not define the size of the flow. The flow expands as you expand your faith, your gratitude, and your willingness to see beyond appearances. The person who blesses their income and yet does not idolize it is free to use it as a stepping stone toward greater increase. By seeing it as a beginning rather than an end, they unlock the door to multiplication. Wages are temporary agreements, but wealth is eternal law. The more you identify with the law of abundance rather than the limits of income, the more life will demonstrate increase in visible form. When you no longer say, "This is all I can have," and instead declare, "This is one of many ways abundance flows to me," you move from confinement into expansion. In that expansion, dreams that once seemed too large for your paycheck become natural expressions of the wealth that was already yours in spirit, waiting for you to claim it. Faith and words are the tools that command wealth, for they are the architects of the unseen that eventually takes form in the seen. Every thought you hold and every word you speak carries a vibration, and that vibration sets in motion the circumstances of your life. When you speak with certainty and faith, declaring abundance as though it already belongs to you, you call forth the unseen supply into visible reality. Words are not idle sounds, they are creative instruments. To speak lack is to plant seeds of limitation. To speak wealth is to plant seeds of increase. The soil of the universe does not discriminate. It brings forth whatever is sown, so the wise person chooses carefully uttering only words that align with prosperity and plenty. Faith amplifies the power of words, for words without belief are hollow, but words charged with conviction become unstoppable. Faith is not mere hope or wishful thinking. It is the deep knowing that what is spoken will manifest because it already exists in the invisible realm. When you say, "I am abundant, I am prosperous, I live in overflowing supply," and your heart affirms it as truth, you release energy that rearranges people, events, and opportunities to match your declaration. You may not see immediate evidence, but the law is already working. For the seed has been planted, and the harvest must appear. Many sabotage their wealth by careless speech. They complain of lack, repeat stories of struggle, and declare that money is hard to come by, not realizing that their words are creating the very conditions they fear. Each negative phrase waters the seed of limitation until it grows into a reality that feels unavoidable. Yet the opposite is also true. When you consistently speak words of increase, gratitude, and abundance, you nourish a harvest of prosperity that becomes inevitable. Every declaration builds momentum, every affirmation strengthens the pattern, until life itself must yield to the picture you have spoken into existence. To command wealth through faith and words requires persistence and discipline. It is not about speaking once and forgetting, but about aligning your daily speech with the abundance you wish to experience. Every conversation is an opportunity to affirm prosperity rather than lack. Every prayer is a chance to release words of certainty into the universe. Every self-reflection is a moment to replace doubt with a declaration of faith. As you practice, your words become consistent channels of wealth, and the universe responds to the steady vibration they carry. The greatest transformations often begin with a single phrase spoken in faith. A person declares, "I live in abundance now," and though their circumstances seem unchanged, a shift has occurred in the unseen. Doors begin to open, ideas begin to flow, and opportunities begin to appear, drawn by the magnetic power of spoken faith. Wealth responds to command, and the command is issued through the union of faith and words. When you master this union, you no longer wait for conditions to change before speaking abundance. You speak abundance first and allow conditions to rise to meet your declaration. You do not need to chase wealth, for chasing suggests that it is running from you, hiding in places you must strive endlessly to reach. Wealth is not something outside of you that must be captured. It is a state of being, a vibration that you carry, and from that vibration, circumstances align to bring the visible forms of abundance. To chase is to live in the energy of lack, affirming that you do not yet have what you seek. To magnetize wealth is to live in the energy of possession, of already being one with the supply. And this attracts to you all that corresponds to the vibration you hold. Imagine a magnet pulling iron toward itself effortlessly. The magnet does not chase the metal, it simply exists in its natural state of attraction, and by existing, it draws what belongs to it. In the same way, when you cultivate the consciousness of wealth, you naturally draw opportunities, ideas, and resources. This attraction is not forced, it is not strained, it is simply the law at work. The more you embody abundance, the more life rushes to confirm it, for like always attracts like. People who chase money often find themselves exhausted, restless, and anxious, because the act of chasing is rooted in the belief that wealth is scarce and must be hunted down. They run after it as though it will vanish if they pause, never realizing that this energy of desperation repels rather than attracts. To magnetize wealth requires a different approach, one of stillness, confidence, and expectation. When you rest in the truth that supply is infinite and ever-flowing, you become a vessel through which it can appear in countless ways. Magnetizing wealth does not mean inactivity, it means alignment. It means that the actions you take are guided by inspiration rather than fear, by vision rather than panic. When you are aligned, the smallest step can bring extraordinary results. because your vibration has already prepared the way. Chasing leads to forced actions that often produce little, while magnetizing leads to inspired actions that multiply themselves. This is why some achieve great prosperity with ease while others toil endlessly with little gain. The difference lies not in effort, but in vibration. To magnetize wealth, you must see yourself as already abundant. Gratitude becomes your natural language, generosity becomes your natural response, and confidence becomes your natural posture. You no longer measure life by what is missing, but by the endless flow of what is present and what is coming. This mental state sends out a signal that life cannot ignore. Opportunities, resources, and people begin to gravitate toward you as if by coincidence, but there are no coincidences in the law of attraction. Everything arrives because you magnetized it with the energy of certainty. Wealth is not something to run after, but something to recognize within. When you embody abundance, you move through life as a magnet, and everything aligned with prosperity must come to you. The more you trust this truth, the less you strive, the less you worry, and the more you receive. For you have ceased chasing shadows and begun living as the source that draws all things unto itself. To bless what you have is to unlock the secret of multiplication, for gratitude is the vibration that transforms little into much. Every cent, every coin, every note, every small inflow of money carries within it the seed of increase, and when you acknowledge it with joy, you water that seed. Many people overlook the small, dismissing it as insignificant. Yet the law of life teaches that what you bless expands and what you curse diminishes. When you complain about what you have, you shut the door on more, but when you give thanks for even the smallest provision, you invite greater abundance to find its way to you. Blessing what you have means recognizing it as evidence of an ever-flowing supply. It means that you see beyond the amount and into the principle that gave rise to it. A single coin in your hand is proof that supply is active in your life, and if supply can bring you one, it can just as easily bring you thousands. The size does not matter to the law, the vibration of your consciousness does. If you look at a small sum with disdain, you affirm smallness. But if you look at it with delight, you affirm expansion. The universe responds not to numbers but to energy, and gratitude is the energy that calls forth increase. There is a deep wisdom in blessing money when it enters your life, whether through wages, gifts, or unexpected channels, to whisper words of thanks, to affirm that it multiplies as it circulates, to release it with love rather than fear. These practices transform the relationship between you and wealth. Money becomes not a master but a servant, not a cause of worry but a cause of joy. Each exchange becomes a reminder that you are participating in the eternal cycle of giving and receiving. The more joy you bring to that cycle, the more freely it flows. Blessing what you have also shifts your focus from lack to abundance. When you fixate on what is missing, you strengthen the vibration of lack, but when you focus on what is present, you strengthen the vibration of plenty. This shift does not merely change how you feel, it changes what comes to you. Life is always mirroring your inner state. A grateful heart sees doors where an ungrateful heart sees walls. A grateful heart turns ordinary situations into opportunities, while an ungrateful heart blinds itself to the possibilities. The practice of blessing money is not about pretending that small is large. It is about knowing that small is connected to large. A tiny seed carries the blueprint of a mighty tree, and a small amount of money carries the blueprint of wealth. By blessing it, you activate that blueprint, you release its potential, and you prepare yourself to receive more. The habit of gratitude trains your consciousness to expect increase. An expectation draws supply as surely as a magnet draws iron. When you bless what you have, you announce to the universe that you are ready for more, and the universe, hearing your call, responds with multiplication. To refuse to speak of lack is to guard the gate of your abundance, for every word you utter is a seed planted in the soil of your future. Words are never idle, they carry vibration, and vibration shapes reality. When you speak of lack, when you declare that there is never enough, when you complain about rising expenses or shrinking opportunities, you reinforce limitation. You place yourself in alignment with scarcity, and the law of life responds by giving you more of what you affirm. But when you choose to silence such words and instead speak of wealth, prosperity, and increase, you plant seeds of abundance that must yield a harvest in due season. Speaking lack may feel harmless in casual conversation, yet it is one of the most powerful ways people block their own wealth. A simple phrase such as, "I can't afford this," or "money never stays with me," becomes a command to the unseen, and the unseen fulfills it faithfully. The universe mirrors the vibration of your words, whether they are words of doubt or words of faith. This is why it is vital to speak deliberately, to let your tongue be guided by the vision you desire, not by the conditions you fear. Refusing to speak of lack does not mean denying present challenges, it means refusing to give them more energy than they deserve. A gardener does not water weeds, for watering weeds only makes them grow. In the same way, when you speak about your problems repeatedly, you water them, giving them strength to persist. But when you redirect your words toward abundance, you shift the flow of energy and allow solutions to emerge. You may acknowledge a situation, but you do not feed it with complaint. Instead, you bless it as temporary and declare the abundance that is on its way. Words of lack often arise from habit, from years of hearing others complain about money, or from internalizing the belief that struggle is natural. But struggle is not natural. Abundance is. You must retrain your speech so that your tongue becomes an instrument of prosperity. Each time you catch yourself about to complain, pause and replace the phrase with one of blessing. Instead of saying, "I can't afford this," say, "I choose to use my wealth wisely." Instead of saying, "I never have enough," say, "My supply is increasing every day." This shift may seem small, but every word builds momentum, and momentum reshapes reality. When you refuse to speak of lack, you become a guardian of your own wealth vibration. You protect it from being lowered by careless talk. You stand in alignment with the truth that abundance is ever present, even if not yet visible. Over time, this discipline transforms your consciousness, and as consciousness shifts, circumstances must follow. Life cannot resist the steady declaration of prosperity, for words are law, and law must be fulfilled. The more faithfully you speak abundance, the more abundance responds, until lack itself disappears from your experience. Wealth often appears in ways the human mind cannot predict, for abundance is not confined to a single channel. When you align yourself with the vibration of prosperity, life opens doors you did not even know existed. A chance meeting can bring the very connection that changes your destiny. A fleeting idea can blossom into a business. An unexpected opportunity can arrive that multiplies your resources beyond calculation. These manifestations are not random. They are the natural expression of the unseen law that responds to faith, gratitude, and expectation. To believe that money can come only through one channel, such as a job or salary, is to limit the infinite. But to expect wealth in unexpected ways is to live in harmony with its true nature. The universe delights in variety. Just as water finds countless ways to flow, through rivers, streams, rain, or hidden springs, so does wealth find countless paths to reach you. Sometimes it arrives directly as money, other times it comes as guidance, as knowledge, as partnerships, or as opportunities that carry within them the seed of prosperity. If you fix your eyes on only one path, you may miss the abundance already moving toward you from another direction. By remaining open, flexible, and receptive, you allow wealth to enter your life in forms far greater than what you had imagined. It is easy to fall into the trap of expecting supply to appear only in familiar ways, but wealth is not bound by familiarity. A gift from a stranger, a sudden idea that sparks innovation, a new door that opens after one closes. All of these are examples of how abundance can appear. What looks like loss may actually be the rearrangement of circumstances that lead to greater gain. What seems like delay may be preparation for a larger harvest. When you trust the unseen, you release the need to control the how, and instead rest in the certainty that supply will come in perfect time and perfect form. Wealth in unexpected ways often arrives when you least strain for it, because strain blocks the flow and ease allows it. When you are grateful, joyful, and confident, you emit the energy of openness, and this energy attracts experiences that surprise you with their generosity. The more you practice seeing life as abundant, the more you notice opportunities that others overlook. Where one person sees only a closed door, another sees a hallway of new doors waiting to be opened. This difference is not in the world, but in perception, and perception guided by abundance reveals abundance everywhere. When you affirm daily that wealth flows to you through expected and unexpected channels, you train your consciousness to accept prosperity from all directions. You stop clinging to a single source and instead recognize the universe as limitless. Every situation, no matter how ordinary, becomes a potential pathway for increase. With this awareness, you walk through life with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. And into that open hand wealth flows with ease, often in ways so astonishing that you know it could only have been orchestrated by the infinite supply that governs all things. Transformation begins in the mind, for all external change is only a reflection of an internal shift. Before wealth can appear in the outer world, it must first be conceived in thought, nourished in belief, and affirmed in word. The mind is the soil, and abundance is the seed. If the soil is fertile with faith, gratitude, and expectancy, the seed takes root and grows, but if the soil is choked with fear, doubt, and limitation, the seed withers before it can bear fruit. This is why two people may stand in the same circumstances, one finding endless opportunities while the other sees only obstacles. It is not the environment that determines the result, but the state of the mind that interprets it. Each morning offers a chance to reset this inner atmosphere. The thoughts you choose at the start of the day shape the tone of everything that follows. By rising and affirming that you live in abundance, you set in motion a vibration that attracts corresponding experiences. Thoughts repeated with feeling become beliefs, and beliefs become patterns, and patterns eventually become reality. A person who begins each day declaring that they are prosperous will inevitably begin to notice signs of prosperity around them, and those signs will expand until they manifest in tangible form. The power of the mind lies not only in what it thinks but also in what it accepts as true. Many people unconsciously accept limitation because they have heard it spoken repeatedly by others, or because they have allowed temporary conditions to dictate their beliefs. Yet the mind can be trained to reject lack and accept only abundance. Just as a gardener pulls weeds to protect the crop, you must uproot thoughts of scarcity the moment they appear and replace them with affirmations of plenty. Over time, this discipline reshapes your consciousness, and your outer life reshapes itself to match. Visualization is another key to transformation, for the mind creates through images as much as through words. When you picture yourself living in prosperity, when you see yourself surrounded by opportunities, when you imagine money flowing to you in perfect ways, you impress these images upon the subconscious, and the subconscious begins to arrange conditions to bring them into reality. What you hold consistently in the mind must eventually appear in the world, for the outer is always the mirror of the inner. It is important to understand that the transformation of the mind is not a one-time event, but a continual practice. Just as the body requires daily nourishment, The mind requires daily affirmation of abundance. Without this, old patterns of lack can return. But with steady practice, the mind becomes firmly rooted in prosperity consciousness, and nothing external can shake it. From this foundation, wealth flows naturally because the inner world has been aligned with the truth of unlimited supply. When the mind is transformed, the outer world cannot resist the command, and prosperity becomes the natural condition of life. To expand your faith beyond income is to step into the boundless realm of wealth, where your life is no longer dictated by numbers on a paycheck, but guided by the infinite supply of the universe. Income is visible and measurable, but wealth is invisible and limitless, flowing from a source that never runs dry. When you tether your faith to income, you restrict yourself to what appears possible within human calculations. But when you release those limits and place your faith in abundance itself, you invite life to surprise you with increase that cannot be predicted or confined. Faith becomes the bridge between the seen and the unseen, and it is by crossing that bridge that ordinary income is transformed into extraordinary wealth. Faith beyond income means recognizing that your current situation is not your final destination. A paycheck may appear small, but faith declares it as a seed of something much larger. Faith blesses it, multiplies it in the mind, and expects it to grow in form. The person who limits themselves to what is in hand closes the door to expansion, while the one who dares to believe in more opens themselves to receive abundance from unexpected channels. Faith does not ask how or when. Faith simply knows that supply is certain and ever increasing. When you expand your faith, you stop treating income as the master of your destiny. You cease delaying your dreams until the numbers increase, and instead you live as though wealth already surrounds you. This shift in perspective is not denial but alignment, for the universe mirrors back what you hold as truth. If you hold limitation, limitation is reflected. If you hold abundance, abundance is reflected. Faith is the choice to hold abundance, even when appearances suggest otherwise. Trusting that appearances are temporary and must yield to inner conviction. Expanding faith beyond income also reshapes the way you act. Rather than acting from fear or scarcity, you act from confidence and expectation. Decisions are no longer governed by the question, "Can I afford this with my paycheck?" but by the declaration, "I am supplied in all ways, and provision will meet me as I move forward." This attitude of faith opens doors that cautious calculation would have kept closed. Many of the greatest successes are born from steps taken in faith, where the provision appeared only after the leap was made. As you expand your faith, your relationship with wealth becomes fluid and unlimited. You realize that the universe has infinite ways to deliver abundance, and income is only one. Investments, ideas, partnerships, gifts, and opportunities all become channels for supply. By expecting increase from every direction, you prepare yourself to receive it. This preparation is not passive waiting but active believing, blessing what you have, speaking abundance, and living as though wealth is already present. Over time, the vibration of this faith grows so strong that it cannot be ignored, and life responds with visible wealth that exceeds the boundaries of income and fulfills the truth of unlimited prosperity. So let us no longer measure life by wages, but by the infinite supply that flows through us. When we bless what we have, speak only abundance, and expand our faith beyond income, we align with a wealth that knows no boundaries. Step into that truth, live it with confidence, and you will watch your income transform into unlimited wealth.